Hi, and welcome to the Retirement Railroad 2.0. I'm Steve, and we're going to substitute Workbench Wednesday for an operations session. And today we're going to do the Aurora to Chicago round trip. And just to refresh everybody's memory, the Retirement Railroad 2.0 is the Downers Grove area of the Burlington racetrack in the 1960s, late 50s, early 60s. All right, and Downers Grove was pretty much the center point between Aurora and Chicago on the three-line main line or racetrack. So what we're going to do, and here is the train we're going to be doing. Out of Aurora, we're going to pick up 5 cars, and on the way to Chicago, it's going to stop at the REA Express in Downers Grove and pick up a 6th car, and there's no work at the lumberyard on this run. So we'll arrive in Chicago, and we will set out one of the two 50-foot grain cars and pick up 2 more cars. Then we head back to Downers Grove, and we will deliver pick up and deliver cars to Pepperidge Farm. We will deliver a boxcar to the Reporter, which is a printing company. We will pick up and drop off icebox reefers on the icing track, and then we will go further and set out a second. Let me double check this. Oh, then we'll set out 3 cars at the Downers Grove yard and take 2 cars, a hopper and a boxcar, back to Aurora. Now, in Downers Grove, there is a cow-calf, SW1500, and a set of cows tandemed up, 1500s, along with a GP9 Phase 2. That said, we will be using an SD 9, which is a 6-axle, since it's a round trip from Aurora to Chicago. Local switching would typically be done by the cow and calf unit, and round trips from Downers Grove to either Aurora or Chicago would be done by the GP9 Phase 2. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and run this train. All right, so the first step of what we're going to get into is the freight coming in from Aurora, and it will stop and pick up an REX Express boxcar from the REA Express siding here in Downers Grove. And it has almost reached the cutoff there for the REA Express and Pepperidge Farm, which is a reversal move. once the train has cleared the turnout, it gets reset. And there she is, backing into the siding. Picking up that green REA Express reefer. Right there. And it's important to note where those yellow stripes are on the ties that the bulkhead flat had just gone over. That indicates two things. That's the clearance point for the turnout, and it's also marks embedded neodymium magnets for uncoupling. And as long as tension is maintained pulling forward, they do not come uncoupled when crossing. It's only when you stop on it that it releases. Alright, so we're pulling back out to the eastbound main and headed to Chicago. Now, Chicago is an off-track location. Alright, it's actually two drawers. And there we will pick up two more cars and set out one black covered hopper. All right. And now we're back from Chicago on the westbound side, and we have to pick up from Pepperidge Farm the Wilson mechanical reefer and set out another loaded covered hopper at Pepperidge Farm, which is the reverse move off of the siding we previously did. So we've set the covered hopper out, and I probably should have moved it a little bit further and cleared up the Express or Zephyr track in the center. So now we'll put the rest of the freight back out of the way for a second as we complete this pickup and set out at Pepperidge Farms. And I can't count the number of times I was at Fairview Avenue waiting for the typical moves just like this to be completed. Come back onto the Pepperidge Farm REA Express siding. There we go. And we'll throw that switch back and couple on to the Wilson mechanical reefer there at Pepperidge Farm. Pull it out and then set it out onto the eastbound main. Just like that. And now we can set out the loaded covered hopper there at Pepperidge Farm Bakery. Maybe they're going to be making some cinnamon rolls, which when you live a few blocks away, you wake up in the morning and if the wind is right, oh, so good. Now that we've completed that set out, it's time to come back. pull forward with our Wilson mechanical reefer. And do the crossover. We can connect it back up, and we will pull forward and set out a C&EI, no, a CB&Q Colorado Southern boxcar, which is right there in this picture on the right. Picture taken after the setout was done. But you can't really see the setout made from the camera angle I had. And it's on the other half of this switching layout. But we still have a couple more moves to make after we set out this Colorado Southern Burlington boxcar at the Reporter, which is a publishing, printing company. Just barely see some movement going on in the upper right of the right hand of the camera. And now we're coming back, and we've got to pick up a Burlington Express ice box bunker reefer. And we'll use it to do the pickup on the Wilson icebox reefer that is currently on the icing track. As a side note, you may hear some background noise, such as a dog barking and cars driving by. It's because our cold weather has broken, at least temporarily, and it's up in the 60s already this morning and due to get into the 80s. So my garage door is open. All right, we've got the Wilson icebox reefer all iced up. Now we'll set it out with the C&EI coal load that's sitting back there at the grade crossing. Set it out there temporarily so that we can set out the Burlington Express icebox reefer back onto the icing track. The car, the big orange car just in front of that Burlington Express is a box car. WKJGPTX Railroad, which is Grandpa Rails, who is kind enough to give me that on my visit down to him back in November. Here set out the Burlington Express Icebox Reefer. Now that we have it set out, we'll go and pick up those two other cars, the Wilson Icebox Reefer and the C&EI Hopper, which was a present from John C&EI, my sidekick in Tennessee. And I shoved them back because now we're going to be pulling this forward, but we need a locomotive on the reverse end of it. So we're firing up a GP9 Phase 2 in the Blackbird scheme, and it'll come up and do a crossover to the eastbound track temporarily before our westbound freight moves forward and stages in position for the GP9 Phase 2 to come and break it down at the Downers Grove yard. So there it is, it's out of the way. So now the SD9, or is it an SD24? I'm not sure. I called it an SD9 before, but I think it's an SD24. Pulling the Brown Trip Aurora, Chicago Aurora freight interchange and staging it just past the turnout for the Downers Grove yard. Once she's in position, the GP9 Phase 2 will come. There's the freight staged. The GP9 Phase 2 will be coming to break it down. There it is. Bang, as Burr Stewart would say. So the first order of business, shove it back a little bit further so that we have clearance going into the yard. So the WKJGPTX boxcar will be put on yard track 1, which is the back or center track in this yard. The far track's the engine lead. This is yard track 1. Let the magnet do some uncoupling for us. Okay. Now it's time for the next one. Some flickering. Next car we're gonna cut out is the Wilson mechanical reefer that we had picked up from Pepperidge Farm, and it goes on yard track number 2. REX Express Reefer is going back to Aurora, so we'll set it out back with the westbound freight. And now we will put the bulkhead flat car with the pipe load also on track 2. Per JMRI. Now we can put the CNEI coal load, leave it again for the westbound freight back to Aurora. And we can send the GP9 phase 2 back to the engine yard. Okay, so the round trip, all the pickups and setouts have been done, and there's only a couple times an engine stalled, and that was on a track, and it was the engine that didn't have a keep alive in it, even though it was a 6-axle. So overall, ran great, and I was real happy. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, next week we'll return with a Workbench Wednesday. Until then, y'all have a great day. Bye now.